So question for you guys. How do you go about building sets for Monster Hunter? What's the approach? Do you have a favorite weapon that you exclusively build around? Do you try to mess with obscure gimmicks and atypical skills? Are you a min-maxing, high number seeking, meta-loving type of player? Are you one of those crazy people who actually knows how the weapon math works? Do you mean one weapon, keep a loose top 3 to 5, or just kinda play whatever you're feeling for that day? We all got a different way of approaching the game, right? And I've been thinking, I bet how you approach your sets for Monster Hunter probably has an actual impact on your enjoyment of the game, at least to some extent. And that thought came to my mind because I realized that there's a chunk of monsters out there that a good number of people just kind of don't like, and in some cases I really didn't know why. Now, off the top, I am not going to come out here and say that you've been playing the game wrong if you don't play like I do, and that I've cracked the code as to how Monster Hunter should be played. Now, that's stupid. If you only want to play one weapon, that's cool. I get wanting to master that skill ceiling. If you're looking up meta sets on YouTube, I'm not gonna judge you. Sometimes I need a second opinion about what's actually good too. My goal with this video is to express why approaching Monster Hunter sets in a counterpick style adds to my enjoyment of the games as a whole, while minimizing things that would otherwise aggravate me. Why this style of play is fun for me personally. Why building around the monsters we come across is as satisfying as building a set with the biggest numbers. And if you're someone out there who dreads certain fights, you hate a monster's gimmick, or can't figure it out, maybe this video will encourage you to branch out a bit. I don't exclusively play like this, but to varying degrees, counter sets are usually my go-to picks in Monster Hunter, especially against harder monsters. And it's for that reason that I find myself liking the bulk of Monster Hunter's fights. Now, when I say to varying degrees, sometimes I go full in and pick a set built around a monster's gimmicks to try and pick that one apart specifically, and sometimes I kind of just pick a weapon where I prefer that fight matchup, and it doesn't really matter if I go at that monster's gimmicks or not. Let me give you a couple of examples. One of the things I was kind of shocked to learn about Monster Hunter Rise was that a lot of people apparently really didn't like Almudron. Legitimately didn't know why, but then I think I might have kind of figured it out. I fight Almudron with Lance. His mud slowing me down doesn't really bother me because I don't rely on movement all that much. His more odd attack telegraphs don't really fake me out because I can just guard against something with a timing I'm not sure about. And with the more twisty, writhy Leviathans, that can be kind of common. And his attacks that I'm more used to, I can counter pretty easily now. He's got a lot of nice, big, telegraphed tail hits and body slams and stuff like that I love to hit with the insta-block counters. Almudron's got these really big and really snaky hitboxes that can be kind of tough to maneuver around, cover a lot of space, so I don't try to maneuver around them. I let them come to me. And as much as I really like Lance, it's not my favorite matchup for every fight. Let me tell you something. Have you ever run an elemental burst counter switch axe build against Gossarag? That is one of the most fun fights out there. Getting that counter ready when he comes dashing in for his slash attacks, nailing the timing on those big, heavy ice sword hits, memorizing when those strike patterns are coming down, and slowly hacking up the ice weapons on his arms. That feels real good. I think Gossarag's fight benefits a lot from the counter-heavy style gameplay we got in Rise, because it makes dueling him kind of feel like a sword fight, while still keeping that Monster Hunter fighting an animal type of feel going. I definitely want to talk more about Goss, just kind of eventually. He's a monster that I really, really like, especially fighting with Switch Axe. Alright, so what about Rise's flagship, Magnum Malo? Sword and Shield, my favorite weapon in this game. For whatever reason, that pairing of the two kinda just clicks. Magnum Malo versus Sword and Shields, it just kind of feels made for one another. It's kind of just this knockdown, drag out, back and forth, really quick paced fight. He's fast, he's got a lot of combos, you're fast, you got a lot of combos. Sword and Shield has great maneuverability to target his glowing Hellfire points. The Shield Bash Silkbind lets you drop his Hellfire without sheathing. He's got a lot of moves you can kind of just dance around and some nice big heavy hits you can get a Metsu off of. But if you abuse the Metsu, then you get punished for it. It just works. There was a point when I was playing Sunbreak a lot every day, and I could do a Magnum Malo run and just barely get hit. I knew that matchup that well. I think this is one of the big benefits we get from how complex our weapons are now. They and the monsters have so many different mechanics and abilities and moves nowadays that fighting a Rathalos with a greatsword and fighting it with dual blades has just become a progressively more different experience with a progressively more varying form of enjoyment or level of enjoyment. Come to think of it, it was really a genius decision made all those years ago in Monster Hunter 1 to not let there be skill trees or locked weapon classes or penalties if you changed. The long-term benefits of this decision have only really served to improve the games as they've gotten more complicated. Maybe I just kinda can't get the timings down, or straight up don't like the way a fight feels with Lance or Charge Blade or something like that. No worries, I can take that same monster, read it like a book with a hammer. It honestly makes me feel a little bit bad for some players who weapon lock themselves and then find that they're hating a certain fight and there's a solution to get out of hating that fight, you know what I mean? With a counter set, it has become very, very difficult for a monster to leave a lasting negative impression on me. Because I realize that it's on me to find out how that monster's game plan works and to figure out how to deal with it. It's on me to use the tools that I have at my disposal on a hunt. I just don't think it's a bad thing to have to change up your plan to better match your opponent. Otherwise, what's the point of having a bunch of different monsters, right? I have a couple of builds in Rise where I specifically build my skills and weapon around a very specific monster. Mostly it's the ones that know poison, but not a ton at the moment. And it's really just because it's expensive to upgrade armor in this game, and I haven't had the ability to make quite as much of a set variety in Rise as I did with World. Though I do have a couple of these sets that I really like. The one I fight Chameleos with, as is in the thumbnail, far from optimal. But a nice slower monster like this is really fun to fight with Charge Blade, and negating his venom with Teostra Blessing lets me make a lot more mistakes, honestly. Basically, I kind of treat Monster Hunter Rise like it's a fighting game. I main Sword and Shield, but I have Lance and Switch Axe as my backups for some particular matchups, with stuff like Charge Blade, Great Sword, and Dual Blades in the pocket if I have a more obscure fight or I'm just out here to experiment and have fun. Because of money limitations in the game, that's how I approach Rise. But World, that's where I really fell in love with the whole counter build concept. I think I made sets for like everything. I got the inspiration mostly around when the Arch-Tempered Elder Dragons were coming out. I knew that a mix of high stats and their elemental gimmicks was gonna make them hell for me. Everybody out here hates Kirin, right? Not me. Wanna know why? Fire Switch Axe, Thunder Mantle, and a little bit of focus and power prolonger. That auto deflect armor can't do anything with a sword mode that's got free mind's eye on it. All you gotta do is maximize your uptime with the sword and you can beat the snot out of Kirin. And with Switch Axe's decent movement, the lightning really wasn't all that much of a problem. Plus you got those nice big horizontal sweeps with the sword mode, so hitting a smaller target's not that hard. Valhazak, Effluvium Negate, and Greatsword. By no means am I a Greatsword pro, but Val is enormously slow, nice and easy to get those big hits off of. Now, one of my all-time favorites was running a heavy bowgun set built with nothing but the express purpose of breaking off Shara Ishvalda's head in its second phase. I do not play bowgun regularly, but I do against Shara. Part Breaker, Ice Shots, KO Mantle. My friends and I would spend entire nights just trying to knock off that headpiece as many times as we could. You remember how much of a pain in the neck that was? This is actually one of the big reasons why I love that you can change loadouts mid-hunt. I know this was kind of a contentious decision change that World brought in, but for the monster hunts that have these big endgame bosses with multiple layers and a couple of different phases and complex mechanics, there was just something fun about having 2 or 3 loadouts built to handle very specific situations, kind of like your own boss phases. It expanded my creativity. It let me look for wacky solutions to complex problems. That's something that I think counter builds allow and incentivize more than anything else. Creativity. Yeah, sure. Pure highest amount raw is satisfying. I'm not gonna argue that. Big number go bonk? Lot of fun. But playing to the monster's weaknesses, bypassing its strengths, treating it like it's a puzzle, that's a lot of fun for me too. I probably never would have regularly picked up Heavy Bowgun in World, but damn, dude, that one set I made for that one phase of that one fight was so much fun. And I came up with that. I didn't look up Shara head break sets online. That was my solution. That was my strategy. And, you know, Lance or Charge Blade or Greatsword wasn't going to let me tackle that head break problem in that way. So I just changed my plan because I had that option. Another favorite of mine was a strategy my friends and I had to all enter the Fatalis fight with Greatsword Frostcraft sets. Get the cannon knocked down right at the start, get full damage off on the head, and then we would all Farcaster out of there and put on our real sets for the rest of the hunt. We did a bunch of grinding for armor sets that were only used in the first minute of one fight, and it was so satisfying. I love the strategy of counter builds, the plans they allow you to make. Who cares if it isn't optimal? Most of us aren't speedrunners anyway. There's something so uniquely satisfying and uniquely Monster Hunter about using skills and weapon types to understand an opponent and just pick it apart. A lot of people hate status monsters, but at the same time, some of those people don't equip the skills to deal with their poison or sleep or paralysis. The ability to deal with those gimmicks are right there for you. Yeah, sure, it compromises on your numbers a little bit, but at what point are you cutting off your nose to spite one's face and all that? Honestly and truly, I think there might be some monsters that people hate just because they don't compromise on their perfect sets. And I'll reiterate, I don't think those people are wrong. I don't think they're playing the game wrong. I am, and forever will be, a proponent of the fact that you should value what you value when it comes to Monster Hunter. But I will also advocate for open-mindedness. This is a very multifaceted franchise with a lot of aspects to it, and people like or dislike different things at various levels. That's just how this kind of thing goes. So those are some of the reasons why my playstyle in Monster Hunter revolves around counter-picking against monsters, as well as some of my favorite examples from recent years. This video was a little bit scatterbrained, but I kind of just wanted to put something out there that I'm passionate about. I love the gigantic toy box of options that we've been provided with in Monster Hunter. And I love just playing with all the different toys. Enjoyment trounces just pure numbers for me. And the implementation of counter builds into my general playstyle has kept my list of disliked monsters very short. And I'm gonna be honest, I prefer to keep it that way. So let me know your thoughts and how you generally approach making sets in the comments below. Were there ever any encounters that forced you to change up your tactics? Do you have any stories of creative solutions you came up with to deal with certain monsters? I honestly really like reading about your guys' own stories and experiences in the comments, so let me know. And of course, feel free to go ahead and like the video if you enjoyed yourself. Subscribe and hit the bell if you want to see more. This has been CR-Volcanic or Connor. I'll talk to you later.